Hi friend, today I want you to imagine that you and I are two friends that have finally had the chance to sit down and connect for a while and truly talk about what's been going on. Every year I sit down and I have a heart-to-heart talk with y'all, and I share about the things that either are or have happened in a way that you don't see me share typically here on the channel. I'm a little nervous this year in sharing this because there are so many new faces here on the channel. But one of the things that I am leaning into right now is that the community that is being built here, not just with me, but with other farm girls here on the channel, has been and is so supportive. And I know that what I'm about to share isn't exclusive to me, and I do so sharing some vulnerable things in the hopes that you see the picture of a more well-rounded person. And these kind of videos and chats allow me to share that with you. I do have an outline of what I want to talk about, but really this is more of a rambling roller coaster of thoughts and emotions. It is not the typical kind of organized, more structured me that you see in videos. And so if that is not your cup of tea, I completely understand. As soon as you appear on YouTube, you're immediately branded as a YouTuber. And I kind of get it, but I really want to retain the quality of being a regular person and just someone that is creating from the perspective of having a full-time job and building a dream brick by brick. I am running my own race and at my own pace. I mean, there's not a sensational headline to what I'm doing. And so I just wanted to share what my farm dream is and isn't. For the past few years, I've shared videos about how I'm learning to graft myself into a homestead lifestyle. And so I feel that I owe it to you to be very direct about the journey you're watching unfold and the type of homestead that I desire. When we finally find a homestead, y'all might say, Cassandra, you've kept us in suspense for all these years for these 6 to 8 acres and a fixer-upper? Likely yes, my friend. I want a home that my husband and I can reasonably manage and where we can grow old in place in. Yeah, several acres where we can have a cow or two, a few sheep, chickens, garden, greenhouse, smokehouse, and the nearest neighbor over yonder is me living my best life. That's because my homestead will need to be an operation that I can reasonably manage while I continue to work full time. I enjoy YouTube so much, and I want it to be free from the pressure of performance. And maybe that's me being a little bit scared, but I don't think so. As long as the Lord gives us health and strength, my husband and I feel very fortunate that we both have jobs that will offer us modest pensions. And if we continue to live below our means, you know, we'll be able to pull a modest homestead off. My husband is a Navy chief and has a few more years before he can retire with 20 years of service. And that's the reason why we're gonna be tucked in our townhome for a few more years. And my entire career has been as a Maryland educator, and I'm about halfway through the years that I'll need. See, I told you the headline wasn't sensational at all, but those are the cards that we have, and you know, that's how we're gonna play them. You know, but in fact, there are a lot of homesteaders that have full-time professional careers that are not at all related to the homesteading industry. But unfortunately, I think while those stories are starting to bubble up and surface a bit more, it's not the predominant narrative that you often hear about. And so, you know, this is our journey, and there's no shame around having a timeline where you are scaling across even a decade or so between the time that you have kind of moved towards determining that a homestead life and a homestead is something that you desire, while also navigating all of the other components that are happening. And anyone who is living life and has, you know, responsibilities associated with it. And so yeah, I just wanted to share that because there are so many of y'all that are rooting for me to get this homestead, and you're so excited. And I started to think, oh my goodness, I wonder if folks are thinking that it's going to be X, Y, and Z. No, 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 no. Although I have a history of homesteading in my family, it's skipped about 2 generations. So I will essentially be a first generation homesteader. And I don't want to be overwhelmed, you know, by my dream. I want it to be right sized for me and for us and our lifestyle. And while I can celebrate the homesteads that others have, it's because it is so suitable to them and their gifts and their talents. But I know for my husband and I, yeah, it's going to be a family homestead that is predominantly there for us to live off on, but then also be tied to a very strong community where we are bartering and partnering with others. We really want the lifestyle and the community that comes with homesteading. It's not that we're trying to do this in efforts to be 100% self-sufficient. But if my cards line up just right, and there are a lot of moving parts with this, the deepest desire of my heart would be to have a multi-generational property, which was common with families before World War II. My parents have built their life in Florida, and so I only have a few more years likely to corral them back up to Maryland or the Pennsylvania area, which is significantly cheaper. Now they're still going to want their autonomy. So we talked about going in together on a piece of property that would be larger than what Trey and I would consider if it was just us. And on this property, we would have 2, you know, primary living spaces, a 1-story house for them, and then a larger main house for, you know, my husband and I and children and, you know, just family gatherings. My husband is one of 9 children. And so really having a space where we can accommodate folks comfortably would be nice. And eventually, when that time inevitably comes, we would already have a space where a parent could move in with us and be comfortable. So growing up, both of my parents have shared how they lived very close to family, aunts and uncles and cousins, sometimes on the same street, just a few houses down, or with grandparents that were just a couple minutes away. So it felt like, you know, you lived between 2 homes. And I want to get back to that. And I will, of course, take you on the journey of how I'm learning about farmhouse architecture and home renovations and things that you have to consider when you're buying agricultural property and property investment and all those nuts and bolts. So now that we talked about the big picture, I'm going to zoom in a bit, but I'm also going to share 2 storylines because they happen in tandem and one impacts the other. So last year around this time, I was in the thick of working at my job, but then also finding a new work location. And I'm still within the same district, but you would be surprised. I hadn't been in the, I guess the job market, so to speak, for like 6 years. And the application process between phone interviews and then the actual interviews and updating your resume, it is like having a part-time job. But after about 2 months, I was able to find a new work location and it has been a great fit. I'm at a new school that reduced my commute from 40 to 20 minutes. I don't have to jump on I-95, which, oh my gosh, in like the 15 years that I've worked, I have always been on I-95 north or south, and that is stressful in the mornings, and the evening commutes are even worse. Now I can just take a couple of back roads and I'm there, so that's been really great. And then the overall work week has shaved off about 3 to 4 hours a week because I switched from working at a charter school to a traditional school. Now, the reason I switched jobs after being at a school that I loved for 6 years ties into the second storyline. Okay, so my husband and I are trying to start our family, and after 3 years, there's still no baby. And I can't tell you how emotionally wearing this process has been. Now, y'all, I'm still in the thick of this, and so I will likely speak in general terms and may not add as much color as you prefer, but I have always seen myself having children, and especially with my husband. And you know, this year we'll be married for 10 years, and we're just ready. We remain open to however it happens, but when we really started trying, the first 3 to 4 months, you're like, okay, we're doing this. After 6 to 8 months, you're like, oh, all right, yeah, it doesn't happen right away. After 2 years, a sadness starts to settle in, and then after year 3, there just aren't any words. We're open to any of the ways that God wants to expand our family, and we've got on a number of medical consultations and examinations, and all those things that you start to do. But at the recommendation, but we also just kind of reached a point where it was recommended not only by my doctor, but then also my parents and Trey to consider a work location and environment that was perhaps just would afford me a bit more margin. And so that's what I have at this new location, with the closer commute and the slightly shorter work day. But it was still a lot. It's just been a lot. In fact, I've been taking video clips of this roller coaster ride. Oh, the family's gonna love. And the results are in that thing. What do you think it is?
I don't know. I don't know. I just hope it's positive.
I know. All right, let's go ahead and look.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But like.
Yeah. All right, so it's Monday after getting the news. Where are my keys? And I lost the night I just lost the night. So anyways, I just stopped at I just paid so much for this stuff. It's like $7.99 a jar. But I didn't have any fresh celery on hand, and I saw that a natural remedy to start a delayed period, which I don't even think my period's necessarily delayed, it's just not on a clockwork schedule, but it's to drink celery juice. So I got this celery and pear, and then I got just organic celery juice, and I'm gonna be drinking that all day today. I don't know, but it's still things like the stress of having to be, I'm gonna use the word obsessive, but it's just hyper vigilant. It is wearing on me, but the stress of being hyper vigilant around ovulation and your discharge, and your emotions and said stress level, and it's just it's so much. And now stuff like this that I just, combined with the stressors already of my husband's work schedule, it's so much. I mean, no wonder you stay in this state of anxiety. It's a lot. It's been a lot for a while. Y'all, I'm 37, and I thought that I would have my babies by now. That my parents would be grandparents. But despite everything, I still remain optimistic on most days. With everything that's been going on, I have really gravitated towards the Nourishing Traditions diet. Hence why you've seen me incorporate raw milk, why I have a constant crock pot of, bone broth, and why I've leaned heavily into fermented foods and adding trace minerals and just so many things, y'all. So much. I'm sharing these things with you because in pursuit of your homestead dream or another goal that you desire will still be the realities and challenges of life. I actually do a lot of canning at night, but there have been so many times when I have been anxious just in my mind, and sometimes it's in my body, and being able to peel something and chop it, and the act of canning has been able to just allow me to be productive and distracted and process not only my food but my emotions, but at the end of that still have something that is purposeful and useful. So many times where I am tending to my garden, but my garden is tending to me, and it has been such a healing balm. These things that I do around my home. You know why I've started living my homestead dream now? And why you should too? It's because you can't afford not to. If ultimately my dream and my life and my aspirations and my deep sense of happiness had to wait until I had property, which is still many years away, several years away, at least at this point, there are still so many other things that have faded away over these past several years that I've even been on YouTube that you all know that will not be realities even when I have this piece of property. Last year when I shared this heart-to-heart talk, I was but I was coming back even on the channel. I had to take a bit of a break because my Nana had passed away, and I still miss her terribly, y'all, terribly. And when you think about the manifestation of your dream, there are still so many other things that will not be exactly as you imagined, right? And so that's why I know that I have to maximize as much as I can, even in these very small ways that that I share with you. I have to maximize them on the daily because tomorrow is not promised, next year is not promised. And so I will not wait to experience the joy that my dream of having a homestead lifestyle, I can step into that now. And y'all, I'm really going off script here. So one of the things that I know, look, my posting schedule has been it's kind of erratic, but it's such an improvement over even a year ago. I post every 8 to 10 days. Because, and I know that I, between work and everything else, the editing that I try to capture in my videos that I don't want to stop just so I can say that I'm putting out a video on this certain day and time is capturing these moments of the beauty of even a very small, humble kitchen, right? It is the sound of an onion peel that is slipping off of the bulb, right? It is the stirring of broth and the appreciation of that deep caramelized color, right? It is the expressions on your loved one's face, right? When you have just made a meal from scratch. It is the joy that you can get from a vertical garden where you're growing herbs, right? It is that even right there, you are already seeing. I am already building, and in so many ways, I have codified what my home in that homestead feels like, right? That is not going to change once I have a different background, right? Or a larger kitchen or animals outside, right? Those are either pieces of equipment, furnishings, or livestock that I am now stewarding. But however, how I am moving through my home and building my understanding and relationships within the homesteading community and my knowledge and my dedication to understanding how things, how to be a better gardener, right? How to be a better cook and all of these things. Those are the joys that large-scale homesteaders are experiencing that we can too if you're someone that's a homestead dreamer like me. And y'all, I'm going to keep cultivating the spirit of my home so that when these little ones arrive, you know, I'm ready, you know, as ready as you can be. I work with kids, so, you know, I don't have any yet, but I get it enough. I do. And so you know, I can't take for granted what I may be sharing with you, you know, next year that has changed, that's not for the best. But at the same time, the deep joy and the filling of my cup and how I'm able to move through and get through, even on life's most challenging days, is still the pursuit of small actions that I am taking every single day that really do fill my cup. And, you know, I want you to do that too. Forget that you don't have acreage, honey. No, I don't have acreage yet, but I still get so much joy from growing in 4 green stalks on my deck and the things that I have learned to make with herbs and the beauty of bouquets that I can set on, you know, my table for a meal, and the hybrid vegetables that I have learned to grow, and being able to identify plants and vegetables just based off of, you know, their leaves. It's just, I am seeing myself over these number of years really grow as a food preservationist, as a gardener, as someone who really has true utility with her hands. And you know what? There's a satisfaction in that no one can take away from you. And it's worth investing in. So this leads me to talk about a goal that I have for this year that I actually can kind of control, which is I need to find some friends. This is no offense to you, darling, because I am certain that you and I would be friends in real life, but I cannot pull you through the screen. You know, that's a comment that I get a lot where it's like, Cassandra, we need to be neighbors. And I'm like, I know, but the best thing I could do was just put myself out here on YouTube to find you, because y'all, it ain't easy out here. But I think, well, no, I know. I actually have the strangest criteria for finding a quality best friend. All right, so the best friends that I have ever had in life, and I'm talking about since the time I was 10 years old to the present, are women that are 55 years or better with a median age around 70. Now, I do have 3 girlfriends in my real life that are also in their 30s that I've known since middle school, the other since college, and then the other at the start of my career. But even in your 30s, you're still nuts. I mean, the screws are on a little bit tighter, but they're still loose. Let me continue to build my case. Even at my wedding, I only had 2 bridesmaids, my best friend from middle school and my best friend from college. Everyone else that I invited as a friend was a church mother or deacon from the church that I grew up in, and they knew me since birth. So let me paint this picture for you, okay? Aside from my husband and I, his 2 groomsmen, my 2 bridesmaids, my brother, and then my husband's 8 siblings, everyone else at our wedding were my parents' age and older. Even the DJ at my wedding was an older man that used to DJ events at a nursing home that I would volunteer at when I first graduated from college and I moved to Central Maryland. I grew up in Western Maryland, so like Central Maryland is like, you know, where you have like the city and stuff. And so again, I didn't have like any friends other than the colleagues that I worked with. And so there was a nursing home that was like 5 miles away from me. And when I was younger, I was a candy striper, and we just did a lot of like house visits for like the sick and shut in, or the elders like at my church. I spent so much time with them that I just gravitated towards volunteering at this nursing home, and I loved it there. And so many years later, I remember that I took the DJ's card, and yeah, he remembered me and DJ'd at my wedding. And I mean, my wedding was amazing, okay? I mean, if you were looking at the optics of my wedding, there clearly was an age divide, But y'all, we all had so much fun. All of my mom's friends are my friends too, and I easily call and visit them independent of our joint relationship with them, and they've just been the deepest friendships. I definitely am an extroverted introvert, and I am fast talking and anxious and excitable and need to have like my hands in all the pots and busy moving around. And yeah, I can definitely be a lot. The way I show up on YouTube as a fast talking, energetic somebody is how I am in real life. And my older friends are not intimidated by that one bit. In fact, they truly calm me down. But with having much older friends, the reality is that I've started to hit an age where many of them are reaching their mid to late 80s and 90s. And over the past couple of years, a number of them have passed away. I didn't have a large wedding. I had about 60 guests, but the reality is that when I look back over my wedding photos, at least half of them are no longer here. And when Nana passed, I realized I didn't have a much older person. I miss having a house that I can visit where the decor hasn't changed in decades and won't change no time soon. Like, I miss being able to just visit, sit, talk, have a word of prayer at the end, and that be the thing you do. You also usually leave with a bag of food, trinkets, clothes, and other items that they're trying to offload, but that they chose you to steward because they know that you'll appreciate it. I miss the hum of the radio playing gospels from Heaven 600, or helping them complete a project, or driving them around for a few errands. Hearing about how things used to be, or how they've changed, or how things have really stayed the same. There is a perspective and command and even bluntness that comes with wisdom and experience. And even on the days where I would come in ruminating about something or a little hot-headed, they were always able to bring me down with a smile or a nod, or, Cass, go ahead and sit over there. Let me bring you some tea. Now, what are you saying? And I just miss that. Of course, this isn't indicative of every person over a certain age, and certainly if someone is battling a health condition, things might be very different. But aside from that, older people are not stuffy. I think that they wait for you to reach a certain age to really discuss things with you. But after that, honey, nothing is off limits. I have had some very frank conversations with my older friends that I will cherish forever. I mean, honey, we would talk about it all. And yes, I have my parents and I count them among my friends, but sometimes you want to hear a different perspective, or hear someone say something differently, or I just want to work through something without telling them everything. I really can't explain this pull that I have with the comfort of being around older people, but I grew up in a holiness church, so think like Pentecostal mixed with Baptist, and the Sunday services were, they were excursions, y'all. They were like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So this was a small church where you knew everyone and they knew you, maybe like 50 to 65 different like families. And because my mom was either a part of the choir or on the finance committee, and my dad was a deacon, during the church services, my brother and I would have to sit with the elders because my parents were not having a sit at the back of the church on the back pew where like some of the other kids could sit just like unattended doing who knows what or whatever. But no, we always sat with the elders. Now, this doesn't make you popular with the other kids, and in fact, they kind of teased us. But for me, it was the reverse because I knew they were missing out. A church mother's purse is like a Mary Poppins bag. You've got Werther's Original Candies, the soft peppermint puffs, word finds. I'd help Mother Harris clip her weekly coupons and then organize them into her accordion thingy. But that could not interfere with having the hymnal pages ready when it was time to stand and sing, which was also true of the Bible passages. I'd write sermon notes in extra large font, and it was Brother Leonard who taught me how to crochet. On the ride home, I could always tell Mom what stores we needed to stop at for the week. I learned recipes by sight by helping out in the kitchen. The encouragement, jokes, and love I saw them shower on my parents, who were, like my age at the time, and on me and my brother was just palpable. Now, I'm being a little cheeky with the whole age requirement thing, and of course, a friend is someone that you can share similar values with, and they inspire you and want the best for you. Our elders are treasures, and relationships with them will uncover experiences and ideas and perspectives that can only be found in someone that has walked on this earth a little longer than what you have. There's actually a woman that I grew close to at my previous school who is 70. She volunteered at the school and actually has a daughter that's my age. And I would share some of my home canned goods with her because you just can't, you know, like not everybody's, you know, into that. But it's interesting because she was sharing with me that she actually hadn't had, so her mother did all of their, canned all of their food, and she actually didn't have food from an aluminum can until she went to college. And so just sharing the stories with her, she grew up on a farm, was so encouraging to my heart, and I'm so glad that we've been able to stay in touch. There's also another friend at my current school, and she's on the young side because she's only 55. But she actually had children at my age, and so she has been such an encouragement to me and a confidant during this process. And I value these relationships that I have with older women, and I'm just at a natural kind of turnover where while some of my friends have passed on, I know that the Lord is bringing many more people into my life, inclusive of all of you. But there certainly is a gift that I have had with having relationships with older people, and I want to continue to steward their stories and their legacies and their wisdom in a way that not only enriches my life, but then can be passed on to the people that I encounter. I feel so much lighter sharing all of that. You know, one of the things that I started doing this year here on the channel that I really just, so many things I miss now that my Nana's not here, but one of the things that we would do is we would always, I mean, we get the sales ads, we would pour over them, and then sometimes we would even just shoot really quickly to the grocery store and, you know, get a few things and come back. Very, very simple pleasures. But I miss that. I miss, you know, how she would know in her price book what the price was last year or a couple months ago, or yes, this is, you know, ultimately a sale, you know, those kind of things. She also had a packed out freezer. Same problem that I have. I mean, we would go through our freezers for sure, but just, I don't know, these, there's a culinary kitchen home legacy and relationship that's kind of there, and I just missed talking in that way with her. And so really the pantry chats that I started to do are, I mean, they're not captivating, or they're not capturing the essence of what we had, but in some ways they are. And so I have just really appreciated that so many people seem to enjoy them. It also kind of just gives you insight into like my kitchen workflow, or how I'm able to kind of put up things and why I'm making these meals at this time of the year and not this, and all those kind of things. So I immensely appreciate that so many of you have appreciated those pantry chats. Yeah. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of my actual goals for this year. And let's be clear, there were so many goals last year that I did accomplish or show a whole lot of improvement towards, but there were also goals that I achieved this year that weren't even like on my radar. So I'll share those with you. And then there were also some other projects that, yeah, you know, for one reason or the other, I didn't get to them. But I'm starting to realize that progress is being made in so many different areas. And so it is good to definitely have a plan or ideas, right? To give you that kind of momentum and initial direction. But you've also just got to be open to the experiences that you are having, and take advantage of that. So let's actually pivot towards some of those things. I'm going to talk about my garden goals. A program that I am so excited about doing this year. What else do we have here? Let me continue scrolling. Okay. We're going to talk about more about how I want to capture our homestead spirit, some apothecary goals, food preservation goals, and then things that I want to steward for this year. So hang in there. I don't know how long I've been talking or how I'm going to edit this video down, But all right, let's keep going. All right, so let's talk about my garden goals. And the first is that I want to take you on a complete tour of growing in a green stalk year round. So from early spring through the summer, fall, and winter. Now I have a total of 4 green stalks, 2 of the leaf and then 2 of the original. And I do want to get one more, but I've done such a good job at holding off because my focus has been on maximizing production with what I have now, and I haven't been able to accomplish that goal in the good sense because there is so much with interplanting and the type of seeds that you grow that you can fit in a single green stalk. I mean, I just feel so abundant. The options that you have are almost limitless in them. So I'm going to stick with my 4 green stalks. But this year, and I haven't really added anything to my collection. Last year I did the name's escaping me, y'all, but you know, like the green hooks if you have like vining fruits and vegetables. I think I had 1 set, but this year I ordered 2 additional sets. So I do have those for now, 3 of my planters. And then I also invested in the frost covers and the insect covers because my goal definitely is to grow year round and not have my garden be influenced by, you know, environmental conditions such as, you know, pest pressure or the weather. I also really want to focus on the best type of seeds and ways to grow for small space gardeners. So one of the things that I think can easily happen, or, you know, I'll just admit that it happened to me, is that because there aren't as many, at least in the initial kind of recommendations maybe that you come across on YouTube, small space gardeners, you can start to kind of, you're consuming content from folks that actually, you know, have full-size gardens and beds and all these other kinds of things. But really what I'm looking at is high intensity planting. And so what I really focused on last year is I abandoned a number of the seeds that I used to grow that were, you know, full-size varieties. Can you grow them in a green stalk? Absolutely. You all saw those results. But in terms of maximizing production and experiencing, you know, faster growth and being more productive and just being able to plant more, really where it's at is your compact heirloom hybrid varieties. And I had my best garden yet. So one of the things that happened, y'all, and now that you know that I was starting a new job and a new school year, it's just always, you know, a lot any time of the year. I didn't get to put out as much of my fall garden as I wanted to. But I was able to take, well, what was it me? It was actually my neighbor, Monica. She is a phenomenal photographer, and she took pictures of my garden, and you can really see just how healthy and vibrant everything was. And so I'm very pleased with what I grew last year. A lot of my seeds were from Botanical Interest. I will be doing, if I haven't already, a seed haul, so definitely stay posted for that. So this may or may not come as a surprise to you, but I really don't watch TV. We don't even have cable. We've never had it. But one of the channels that we do get that I will, if the TV is on, it's on this station, is the public television station. For us, it's MPT, Maryland Public Television. And on that station, I particularly enjoy watching Cook's Country. I mean, come on now. It's like the America's Test Kitchen show. And then I will watch Chesapeake Collectibles, which is kind of like your Antiques Roadshow. And then anytime they will have these special features of period dramas, which I love because I just love the history and the pageantry. But other than that, YouTube is my media. But I do have a guilty pleasure. And every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, there is a show that comes on MPT, and it's called Maryland Farm and Harvest, and it's hosted by Joanne Clendenny. So that show comes on from 7 to 7:30, and then it's followed by another show that's called Outdoors Maryland from 7:30 to 8. So what the show does is it will take you through several different counties and then highlight agricultural histories and businesses from people that are, you know, residents all over the state. And I have learned so much. I mean, the way that the show is segmented, you never know whether they're going to focus on kind of like your more commercial industries or your family owned and operated businesses or different school programs or new initiatives. They always have like a look back in history. You can guess like the thingamajig of the week. There's always like the local buy. There's just, it's a fun little show that's really educational. And yeah, so I enjoy that show. show, and I've actually learned a lot about the farming industry. They present it in a very easy to digest format, and if you can, check out that show. Have y'all ever, like, do you watch that show? Do you know what I'm talking about? And then after that, the show Outdoors Maryland comes on, and oh, I just love this show. It's just a healing balm after a long day at work and coming home and sometimes, you know, scrambling to put dinner on the table, walking Thor, all those kind of things. But the cinematography of this show is just captivating, and it focuses on, as the title of the show implies, just these gorgeous outdoor spaces that we have all across the state. So different like hiking trails and pastures, or different like lakes and rivers. It is just a gorgeous show, and they're also kind of featuring different outdoor programs across the state. Well, a couple of months ago when I was watching the show, they highlighted this program that I had never heard about, but I was like coming off of the edge of my seat, totally like leaning in, just locked in on this program. And what it's called Becoming an Outdoors Woman. Like just the name alone, right? And so listen to this description of this program. And they're like one-day clinics, weekend clinics, all around like outdoor, nature, food preservation, fishing, hunting, all of those topics. But it is geared specifically towards women. Okay, so I have pulled up the description of the BOW, Becoming an Outdoors Woman workshops. So it says, in addition to the weekend workshop, we also offer Beyond BOW events. Beyond BOW workshops last from 1 to 3 days and are focused on specific activities. Beyond BOW workshops may include one-day fishing clinics, a backpacking experience, goose hunting on the Eastern Shore, farm to field table, learning how to take wild game from harvest to the dinner table, or an outdoor survival skills weekend. Oh my gosh. Each workshop we offer is tailored to showcase the resources and opportunities available in that area, as well as offer more intermediate hands-on experience. The emphasis of BOW and Beyond BOW is on the enjoyment and camaraderie that goes along with outdoor recreation, whether hunting, fishing, hiking, or boating. Now that sounds like I'm going to meet some friends there too, right? I mean, these are all things that I've done maybe in isolation and little bits, you know, and fits and starts of like, you know, my dad when he's up here, when I'm down there, but, or with my husband from time to time, but I don't have a built-in like anyone else that really is interested in this. So I am super excited. They haven't, like every day I'm on the website, they haven't released like when the classes are going to be. They're like, stay tuned, it's coming. I think there's one class that happens in July that I really want to do. So I'm really excited about this. The interesting thing is that becoming an outdoor woman is actually something that multiple states have. So I would check in with I'll have to leave the link below. Am I on the Department of, it's by like your state, like the National Park Society or something like that. But yeah, if that's something you're interested in, definitely look it up, because I'm so excited. When I went to the website, there are different they had like a video summary of the different activities. And so, I mean, you're really getting master teachers and educators. And so having that kind of hands-on experience is something that I'm going to put myself out there, and I'm going to go for it. All right, y'all. So one of the goals that I had last year was to beef up my apothecary. And truly from early spring through late fall, I am so spoiled with having fresh herbs over half of the year. And so I am so excited. I can start to see that my sage is already coming back. The mint, of course, that's going to come back. Yeah, that's all I have so far. I think I just saw a little bit of thyme, or maybe that's parsley that's out there. But I do want to, and I will likely have to order some dried bulk herbs. But I want to come up with a number of just different tinctures that I keep on hand and have them kind of ready for the fall and the winter. And what I'm going to do is, with my little corner curio that's here, first I just had to like clean it out. It just became like a hodgepodge of all the different china that when my, husband travels for work, he'll bring, back glass and different things like that. But I need to I'll leave maybe that top row of like an eclectic mix of stuff. But then I really need those other two shelves to be, just to have like some more utility. And so I think that's what I'm going to use to start my apothecary. And so you'll see more of that whenever I feature my garden tours this year, and then moving into end of summer, fall preparation. I always want my first option to be something that is natural and something that I can control, and I know what the ingredients are and isn't, commercial kind of medicine. I am not against using that when and if you need to at all, but I do know that that is an area that I want to continue to educate myself on. I have the books, right? I just need to set aside time to do it. There's a really good book that I was following by Rosemary Gladstar. Oh, isn't she just... Oh, she's the best. Amy Fuel also is an incredible herbalist that I like to follow, along with just so many others. But that is something that I didn't get a chance to do as much as I would have liked last year, that I'm just going to say, okay, Cass, let's go ahead and focus on that for this year. Food preservation is also another goal that I have. In total, I have about 500 jars that are dispersed between my home and my parents' house. Y'all know that I do a lot of canning for them. And so my goal is to see, can I fill close to 400 jars this year. We'll see. Each year, I am just impressed that I always am scaling my production. What I believe will make a difference this year is that this past summer, I got the oven roaster that I featured in my canning salsa video. And oh my gosh, if you are working with a small kitchen like I am, having a roaster will change your life. Just do it. Just do it, right? It is the only way that you can reasonably scale without having multiple pots, different, burners. I have just loved it. And a roaster, it is a portable oven, right? So even if I don't have room in my kitchen because I need to save the countertop space, honey, I can move that roaster, onto the table over here, anywhere that I need it to be. And I have enjoyed using it so much. So I'm actually about to make a whole lot of carrot soup. My dad just fell in love with that recipe, and so I'm going to be using my roaster oven for that. But just a majority of items for this year. So between the roaster oven, and then I do have 2 canners, and so I have the electric stovetop that's safe to use a canner on. But one of the things that I think I'm going to start doing with my 2 canners is, while one is kind of cooling down, I have to wait until it cools all the way down to then take the lid off, bring it back up to temperature. But what I can start to do now is start a second batch, as the other one is kind of the temperature as I've turned off the heat and it's coming back down. I can have another canner that I'm warming up that's ready to go. So just tweaks like that. That's where I can really maximize time. So I'm looking forward to what I can put up this year, between what's on sale, what looks good at the farmers market. The farmers market opens next week. It's gonna be the first week in April. I live there, y'all. That sounds bad, but it's actually true. It's like a stone's throw away. Good thing you have to be in a car to get there, just because of the traffic pattern. But I just can't wait to see all the employees there again, and to pick up my order. And I just love it. I'm there multiple times a week through the spring, through when do they close? In November. Yeah. So that's exciting. Oh yes, planting season is here again. Gardening season is here again. And this year's gonna be good. So circling back to the show Maryland Farm and Harvest, my state, and yours likely too, has such a rich agricultural history. And so I really want to be intentional about visiting these places. So yes, there are so many farmers markets that are available to me just within, a 2 to 10 or 15 mile radius. But I do think that it would be advantageous just a couple of times this year to go to some of these sites and locations that I have yet to explore. I've been likely in the vicinity. Maryland isn't the biggest state, but there is something around supporting these businesses and speaking directly, with these owners, and having these experiences that otherwise I could easily just write off as being a little bit too busy. One of the things that I'm so excited to do, Hopefully I can coordinate this when my dad comes. He's supposed to be here, I think he said like the end of May, early June. But I really want us to get tickets for the Frostburg Flyer, which is a railroad excursion that you can take. And it takes you on the Allegheny Mountains to Frostburg, and there are scenic canyons. And it's just an opportunity to appreciate that not everything always has to be newer and better, that we can preserve modes of, transportation and enjoyment and experiences that are fine as they are, that don't need to be updated or messed with or fooled around with. And I really think activities such as those, and being intentional, even with the Maryland Outdoors Women's programs, like that is where I want my time and focus and financial support to kind of go to these different industries that are really aligned with causes that I can support. Now, my dad and I are total amateurs that probably look legit, but we love hiking. And one of the things that we are challenging ourselves to do, I mean, just being in the area that we are, there are so many paths, like literally everywhere for us to explore. But we really want to challenge ourselves this year. And so we're not sure what part of the Appalachian Trail we are going to tackle, but that is in the cards for this year. And as we were kind of talking about different routes that we wanted to take, and this has been in the works for the past couple of years, but there is such a rich history and legacy, and really, I want to say, misunderstood, dominant narrative about Appalachia that is so unfortunate. And I am so drawn to the rich history and people and traditions and customs of this area in a way that has just, in the time that I have had to get to know more about its history, has just enthralled me for several months now. So every year in DC around the fall, they host the National Book Festival. And one of the books that I picked up that I had heard about is The Bookwoman's Daughter. And oh my goodness, I have loved reading this book.
The Bookwoman's Daughter is a stunning portrait of the raw, somber beauty of the Appalachia, a tale of strong women, bravery, and resilience told through the powerful portrait of a new heroine and the Packwoman's librarian. Listen to some of the beautiful language taking you into a root cellar.
When we reached my grandparents' cabin, Pearl lit the stove and stacked a few logs into the fireplace, while I hung quilts over the drafty windows. In a few minutes, I went down into the root cellar to get a few victuals for supper. Below, I placed the lantern on a table and the room lit up. The cellar brimmed with food, and I marveled over the canning jars of every size, stacked on shelves that climbed to the ceiling. There were peas, butter beans, roasting ears, mustard greens, sweet potatoes, turnips, jams, and more. Papa had brought in sacks of flour, crocks of smoked apples, and barrels of kraut, dried berries and persimmon and strings of pumpkin, leather breeches, which are like dried beans, hung beside the large hams, pork, sausage, and venison. All smoked and salted, the meats would easily last through this year and the next. Hungry, I grabbed a peach leather strip and chewed on the sweet candy treat. Mama made the best. I'd helped her prepare and cook the peaches with brown sugar or honey, and then I'd spread the thick peach sauce outside on large clean cutting boards and leave them in the sun to dry for a few days, dehydrating. Once it was good and leathered, Mama would cut them into strips and hang them up inside. I wonder what her supper would be tonight.
All right, there you are. Okay, so in case y'all haven't figured out, I am a mix of everything. My daddy's from the South and my mom's from the North. I was raised in a military family where you connect with all sorts, and I have had an eclectic experience. And then there's the way I talk, which besides fast is a blend of formal education and colloquial words and accents that really show the experiences and the people and family that I've been around. It's also reflected in the meals I cook, because I can go from vegan to using chicken feet, because that's how you get the best bone broth. I love gospel and country music along with Motown. My husband and I love jazz. I have a soft spot for the 80s, and since I grew up performing ballet, I absolutely love classical music. So it's really hard to put me in a box. But listening to bluegrass music really makes me want to play the fiddle. Now, I have no time to learn how to play a fiddle, But oh my gosh, and then you know what I've especially enjoyed recently, like sometimes in my like hold on, how did I get down this rabbit hole? Why am I watching this? But not really, it's just such a comfort, is the Appalachia flat-foot dancing is something that I can watch those contests for hours. I mean, I'm never on YouTube for hours, but I mean, so many cultures have step dancing, which is essentially what it is. But I would love to be able to actually go to that type of concert. All right, so let me go ahead and talk about two more things because I have been chatting your ear off. And the first is that I have to thank you all for the overwhelming love and support and kind comments that I received from my first ever pantry tour. I was so nervous to put that video out. So nervous, but I had to put that video out because after, more than 2 years of being on YouTube and not sharing a pantry tour, and the reason was that I didn't have my canning pantry built underneath my basement steps, but I was very protective of the very personal story that I shared about my mom and her condition. But I also knew that the reason that the true reason why food preservation and canning is so important to me and always will be, is that story that I shared. And I realized that I had never expressed or shared that story. I hadn't articulated it with words outside of my mind with anyone because it is just, so personal. I had only shared it with the timeline of events and what was happening. Of course, like my family knew, but, I wasn't, you just break down and you cry. And even when I would occasionally kind of share things with people at work as I was taking off for some of those appointments, it was just very surface level, right? I didn't have to give the detail that I was sharing in that video. And so that's why there was just such raw emotion there. There's the scripture in the Bible that talks about sometimes when you pray and you just don't have the words, that you are uttering just moans and groans that only like the Holy Spirit is translating for you, like as like your prayer with words that the Holy Spirit can understand. And I just I never talked about that experience, but I'm so glad that I was able to put words to it. And it also made me feel comforted that several of you have also gone through that path, right? I think, in sharing these stories, honey, we are not alone. You're not alone. You can feel that way. Because I have felt that way, right? I was feeling that way, but that video, there was just so much community and support around that. And so I thank you. My mom thanks you. She actually, this is crazy, y'all, right? So my parents are not they're not on YouTube. They're not even subscribed to my channel. It's fine, right? I just forward them hey guys, here's my latest video, that kind of thing. But my mom has found her way to YouTube, and she will kind of read me comments that you all leave. So she's still all over that video from time to time, and it just encourages her heart so much. And I told my mom after I posted that video, I said, I'm gonna take it down if if the response just in general. I say all that to say that I feel so appreciative always of everyone that ever visits, that watches. You don't have to leave a comment, there's no pressure. I appreciate it also, when you give the video a heart and thumbs up, that does help, push things out. I value it so very much, this is incredible, this community that's here. And I will continue to work on getting a video up once a week. Again, my time frame is about 8 to 10 days because there is just a lot more editing that I'm kind of doing. But I don't say that to be, I enjoy that. I really do. My work schedule is still just kind of erratic, much better than it was last year. Oh my goodness, thank goodness. But I appreciate you, every single one of you. I cannot tell you how much just being able to share my joy with others is so just healing to me, because for many years, as I've already been on this journey before, I, started making videos, this is what I was doing. And I kind of thought like, man, people must be like, Cassandra, what are you up to on the weekends, in the evenings and stuff like that? Because if you don't get it, you don't get it, right? And so finally having a space to be like, this, that archives kind of like, this is what I do. And this is the richness of my life, even outside of work. And to have you along for that journey has meant, it means the world to me, y'all. All right, y'all, so this last bit of news is something that just feels so surreal in a way and wasn't even something that I had plans, for last year or for this year. And several of you may already know this, how things unfolded. It all just happened so quickly. But this year, I will be one of the speakers at the Homesteaders of America conference. I know, little old me. And the way it happened was like nuts. So I do have an Instagram account. I have not really been active on there for a while because honestly, again, I have just had what I consider to be a lot of growth, this past year. And there was a time where I was able to answer everyone's comment, easily. And now it's just, I'm not able to. And I don't like not being able to do that. And there are definitely times that I allocate during the week to tackle as many comments as I can. But anyways, with that being said, I had actually, I'm going to start posting on my Instagram again because I know people are finding, me there too. But anyways, it was over like the Christmas break, so like late December, and I get little like notifications, pushed to my phone and different things like that. But I remember that I got a message and it said, message from Amy Fuel. And I'm like, I only know one Amy Fuel. Like, this is like, who is hacking my account? Who is pretending to be her? Like, no way. There's no way she's speaking to me. Right? And so I clicked on, the message and, there it was, an invitation for me to consider, speaking at the event that she, had been following my channel, that a couple of people had brought awareness to her, about, my content. And I remember that, like, I had one of those moments where I was like, what? Like seriously, y'all. So I like text her back something like, oh my gosh, you're Amy Fuel. Are you serious? Anything you need? Like that kind of thing. I just like, y'all, it was crazy, right? And so I'm super excited. I was gonna go just anyways, right? The HOA conference was something that I went to last year, as I shared with you before, and I barely had any footage because I truly went there as a time for me to be, poured into, to really learn, to take notes, all of these things, which I absolutely did. And now and the experience is phenomenal because the conference is so well run. The speakers are super organized and amazing, but there is still this casual atmosphere of, as I had explained it in one video, where it's like YouTube in real life. Like, how like whenever I like go onto YouTube, I'm like, oh, whose house do I want to visit? I'm gonna go visit Adhere from Appalachia Homestead. Then I'm gonna go see Becky. Then Roots and Refuge. How's Jill doing? Like all of like your friends and stuff. But like they're there, Stacy, Doug and Stacy are there. There's Constance from A Good Life Farm and Anna from Fermented Homestead. Like everybody. It's just, and they're just walking and they're just out and they're talking and like people are like, hey, you're like, hey, like it's crazy because it's kind of like you're starstruck a little bit. But yeah, so I say all that to say, y'all, that I will be presenting on two topics. One, I'm still kind of like generating and honing down, will be on kind of like using all of the ingredients around fruit scraps. And then the second topic that I'll be talking about is going to be exactly what I'm sharing here every single week, how to start a homestead life and learn homesteading skills in a small space and in your spare time. So my husband's gonna be there, dad's gonna come along too. You might see mom there as well. And if you see me, you better come up and say, hey, all right? So I can hug your neck and squeal when I see you and be like, ah! Like, I'm gonna do that, just so you know. Like, you know I am. But I'm really excited about that. Not only just to go to the conference as an attender again for the second year, but then also to meet more of you all and to encourage other homestead dreamers. All right, so I've been sitting here for 2 hours and Thor is like, Mom, what are you doing? You see him over there? He's like, can we go? Can you get up? Can we do something? Yes, Booba. You've been so patient. All right, y'all, so we might not get a chance to do this until next year, but I always enjoy these chats with you where you can see that, yeah, the details of our life might be different, but ultimately, I'm just a person trying to figure all of this out too. Be encouraged and keep acting towards your homestead dream, brick by brick, in the evenings and on the weekends. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.